Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the budget session of the Rutherford County School Board. First order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. Is being led tonight by Scout Troop 441, Christiana, Tennessee.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much, young people. Appreciate it. Before we get to the agenda, if you would just make the following notes of future meetings, I'll just cover that right now. We have a conflict on the 21st, and it's going to work out okay, I think. Ms. McLeod reports that we would probably be in a little bit better shape if we delayed the policy meeting until around the 10th or 11th, and we'll get back to you on a date in July when we're going to do that. We're going to move the work session on the 21st to the 20th. Now, if anybody, I hope that's okay with everyone. You planned on being here that night anyway, same time, 5 o'clock. So in other words, we will not be together on the 21st at all. Next night will be the regular meeting. Any comments or anything else on that we need to discuss? Okay, let's move on then. Who's doing the talking tonight for our budget? Ms. Barnes, welcome. That means that our minutes tonight will be perfect. Okay, as they always are. Mr. Director, are you leading?
Miss Tyra Pilgrim's going to come up and give you a little report on Washington and CTE and some things that's going on. Got back again last night from a trip. Push the button. I think it may not be on. Green.
There we go. All right. On Friday night, we were contacted by the Jobs for the Future group that we've been working with for the past 3 years for the Pathways, Tennessee Pathways project. And so they emailed Beth and asked if we could send a couple of our success stories because there may be an opportunity for us to go to Washington and meet the president. And so she emailed them, and we were like crossing our fingers. Did we get it? Did we not? So Saturday night, we found out that we did. They chose us. And so we made a whirlwind trip yesterday. We flew out about 6 o'clock, except for we got on the plane, and then the pilot came on and said that the right engine would not start. So we got off the plane, and the mechanic fixed it. Thank goodness someone good was there, and we were crazy and got back on it. So I don't know how smart we were for that.
I wouldn't have.
But we had a meeting set up to meet with Senator Lamar Alexander's staff, and so that was supposed to be at 11 o'clock, so we really needed to get there. So when we landed, we found out that the shootings had taken place and that they had to cancel the event. But what the event is the announcement that he made today about the workforce and the apprenticeships and all of the work-based learning stuff that he made today. He would have said to us yesterday at this press conference at 3 o'clock. And so we were very sad and bummed that we couldn't, that couldn't happen, but we were honored that they did pick us. And so I'm going to invite him to come here and see what we're doing. And, he may just say yes, and then he might come. But whenever we were talking to Alexander's staff, we met with Jake, and he is the one who writes the CTE, helps write the policies for him. And so we met with him, and he's actually from Franklin, Tennessee. And so we have made contact to him to whenever he comes back, we would love to, show him what we have here and how we do things here. And so he was very interested in doing that. And so we, met with him, and then at 3 o'clock, we met with Secretary Acosta, the Department of Labor secretary. And so we got to meet with him. And so he met with the adults for a little while, and then he went and he wanted to have a private session with our students, because as part of this, one of our success stories is Ryan Pierce, who is a recent graduate of Blackman High School. And so he wanted to tell his story. So Ryan went with us. And so they had Indiana was there, Tennessee, and Georgia. So those were the 3 states that were represented. And so they took all of the students and they were, he talked with them about, what's going on and how they are where they are. And so he was, Ryan was very excited and very eloquent, and he had prepared a little, speech for it, and it was wonderful. So they had a good meeting. And then we came back. It was a crazy whirlwind trip, but I see that things are moving in Washington around the workforce and around CTE, and I think that is good. I think they see the need for it, and so that is very, very exciting. I did find out this past week that I received the reserve grant again for this next year of $62,000. So 50 of it is for equipment, and then 12 of it is for industry certification. So we did receive that. And then on the 16th, so I guess in 2 days, or tomorrow, today's the 15th. Tomorrow, the application is open for us to request the CTE Perkins equipment that the state, the $15 million. And so I will be writing that starting tomorrow. And then we'll see about, everyone is supposedly guaranteed $125,000. I asked for more because not everyone will ask for the $125,000, so maybe they can redistribute some of it to us. So I figured why not, and I got Mr. Odom's blessing, so I went ahead and did that. So lots of exciting things going on, and so that's my Washington story. Do you guys have any questions?
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Again.
Thank you.
I'm sorry that the event didn't happen.
I know, we were so bummed.
A worthwhile trip. I know that there have been several things that have come out in the press lately, articles and things, and we talked about it a little bit, I think, once after a board meeting about the new Secretary of Education and some of the president's plans for budget cutting in the area of federal money to education, and that one of those areas they were earmarking was CTE. So I don't want to put words in your mouth, but after what you just shared, are you a little more optimistic that maybe that's not going to be the case, or?
I don't know. The fact that it's on the forefront now, that it's becoming talked about more, I guess, more popular to talk about. And there were so many industries, and he even said today that CEOs of this company and this company are here, and they're talking about things. So there may be cuts. More than likely there will be. But maybe it won't be as much as initially, what they thought. So, there's no way of knowing that for sure, but I know that whenever they are seeing these success stories like this, it's making them see, oh, okay, this is really, things are going well. And so that's why we were so excited to even get this opportunity, because, it's the connection between the Rutherford County Chamber of Commerce and industry and the school system that is, making stuff happen. So it's exciting.
Thank you again for all you do for our school system, too.
Thank you.
And let me echo that, too, for the board, and you represent us very well.
I'm doing my best. I will keep it up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pope.
Mr. Odom, number 4, budget amendments.
We'll begin tonight with 16-17 budget amendments, closing out this year, and then we'll go into the 17-18 budget. The first amendment is the General Purpose School Fund 141. There are 4 final cleanup amendments with this General Purpose School Fund 141. Number 1 is the non-labor expenditures within the major function. This amendment reallocates a total of $1,096,009 in non-labor and non-benefit budget lines to other budget lines within major function. No new dollars are being added to any of these functions. We're just moving already budgeted funds. These expenditures are 1.8% of the total general purpose school budget for non-labor and non-benefit expenditures. The big changes are reallocating $230,000 in the technology budget function 72-250, $255,000 in the operation of plant function 72-610, and $268,000 in the maintenance budget function 72-610, and $100,000 in the transportation budget function 72-710. Recommended motion is to amend the 2016-17 general purpose school budget for a total of $1,096,009 in non-labor and non-benefit budget lines to other budget lines within major functions as presented. And Mr. Samick has the breakdown for you in the other sheets. Do you want to say anything about that amendment, Mr. Sandvig?
Commission level, non-labor amendments within major functions are at your discretion. And the dollars are bid, but it was stuff like, in operation of plant, move some money between types of utilities. The maintenance budget, move between different line items that maintenance uses for repairs. There were changes like that, but, these are the ones that you, as long as we're not touching labor, this is it. We will carry it forward, Mr. Clement, as a courtesy. And I like to remind you of that, so that one time we had them try to block one of these. So I'll remind you.
Questions for Mr. Sandvig or the director? Need a motion?
Can we not do all these at once, or do we need to do them individually?
Well, we can do the first three if you want to. Any objection from the board? Go ahead with
Okay,
number two then.
Number 2 is the non-labor expenditures crossing major functions. This amendment reallocates a total of $46,975 in non-labor and non-benefit budget lines that do cross from one major function to another. No new dollars are being added to the budget. We're just moving already budgeted funds. And so this recommended motion is to amend 2016-17 general purpose school budget for a total of $46,975 in non-labor, non-benefit budget lines do cost from one major function to another as presented. You want to tell them quickly kind of what that covered?
These are just minor adjustments that there was not enough.
Money in these functions left to cover some expense we incurred, routine expenditures.
Number 3 is final staff adjustments. This amendment reallocates $100,046 in already budgeted pay and $15,296 in related payroll benefits for a total of $115,342 to other pay and benefit lines in the budget. These changes are due to vacation payouts, maternity leaves, staff changes. Recommend motion is to amend the 2016-17 general purpose school budget for a total of $115,342 in already budgeted pay and benefits to other pay and benefit lines in the budget in order to cover vacation payouts, maternity leaves, and staff changes as presented.
Anything else you want to say? Any questions on 1, 2, and 3? Need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Mr. Hodge, a second. Mr. Estes, thank you. Any questions or comments? All in favor of approval of 1, 2, and 3, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There is none. Number 4.
We might say to the people that's watching us on the TV or something like that, you know, this last year, out of a $340 million budget, this time last year, we were putting things in these line items, and as you go through the year, you have situations where something happens in a repair that you didn't expect or something happens. So the movement is not great out of the $340 million budget, what we're looking at. But number 4 is a very important one also for you. This is the 2016-17 has been another year of strong growth in local revenues, and our basic education program growth funds should exceed $2,140,610. The school board will be transferring $8,138,185 in the 2016-17 revenues to the school building program fund as a part of this amendment. This amendment also budgets an additional $561,336 in revenues and related expenditures for a total of $8,699,521 in revenues. The additional expenditures are $200,000 for legal fees related to special education, $250,000 for additional trustees commission, and $45,000 for other student services and other increases in expenditures that correspond to specific donations. $3,705,315 is still left in the school building program fund of the 11 million from the general purpose school unassigned fund balance that was transferred a year ago in July 2016. The school board requests that the county commission use this new transfer of $8,138,185 and the remaining $3,705,315 in order to internally fund the shortfall of Rockville High School construction contract. Recommended motion is to amend the 2016-17 general purpose school budget by a total of $8,699,521 in revenues, with an additional $561,336 in expenditures, and $8,138,185 to be transferred to the school building program fund in order to internally fund the Rockville High School construction contract as presented. We probably need to stop just a minute and kind of explain some of that. When we did bid our Rockville High easement, though, it's essentially the same design, except for a few square feet, really, of what we did at Stewart's Creek High. And so Mr. Clardy did some adjustments in that because of the 5 years, I guess, since Stewart's Creek was built for the Rockville High School. Yet because of business and increased cost, that budget came in almost $12 million higher than our projected. So we've done some value engineering, and I'll let Mr. Carty tell you about that. But what we can do, it's critical that we start Rockville High this summer if we're going to get into it in 2 years. And so we spoke last night. Budget and Finance was there last night. Of course, Mr. Sandvig and I attended that. We spoke with Rhonda Allen, chairman of, Health and Education, with Will Jordan, who is with the Budget and Finance. Mayor was there, Mr. Pettis Reed, commissioner from that area, and several other commissioners there. What we're going to try to do, and they seem willing to do this, that since we can fund this difference and make up the difference out of our funds to finish out the Rockville High School cost to get started, that they've added to their agenda Monday night. If you approve this tonight, Budget and Finance actually has another budget meeting pre-scheduled Monday night. So this would become a line item on their budget. And then what they'll do, when the whole county commission gets together to pass the whole 17-18 budget, they're going to put another item on that agenda that would allow us, or would authorize us, to actually take this money, make these amendments and changes to pay for the Rockville High School. So what we'll probably do next week at your regular board meeting, we'll probably have another amendment, since we don't meet until July. We'll probably add another item to the agenda next week to award the contract to the successful bidder pending the county commission's approval of this $11,800,000. So that's the plan. We kind of worked out a plan last night so that we can maybe, before June is out, go ahead and authorize this and give the bidder. Did some value engineering things. Some of the things we don't really want to take out, and I'll let him explain that, like the LED lighting, since that's the direction we're going. Do you want to kind of name a few things on that you did? What, about 500,000 value engineering, maybe?
About 500,000. First, I'd just like to say that on Stewart's Creek High School, we had about $110 a square foot in that school. I had $150 dollars a square foot in this budget. So I'd increased it by $40 a square foot, and if you take that 342,000 square feet, that's $13 million right there that I had already increased the budget by. There's some items that are in this that were not in Stewart's Creek High School. We have a $500,000 for the LED as compared to our standard energy saving fluorescent. The code has changed. The state department is now using full-blown 2012 International Building Code, and we were using the 2006 before. So there's been a change in the Nashville office, so they're actually interpreting code different. So fireproofing in this, all the first floor, the second floor, the second floor, the roof, and all the structural steel has to be coated, and that's about $1 million, including everything else that goes with it, like some fire doors and those types of things. We included money in there for roads and for that road out the back. And then we also are going to take an alternate in there to complete the sewer line over to the elementary school to get that. That'll only leave us one sewer system in our entire system that is not in really, really good shape, and that last one would be Buchanan. So our total cost in this, for this school, not including the facilities, for the sports facilities, is $177 a square foot. Bedford County just bid a high school. Theirs was $185 a square foot. And Williamson County at Split Log has an elementary school that they're building now that came in at $200 a square foot. So we still, as busy as everyone is, we're still getting, I think, the value. If there's not anything left in the economy like it used to be, but we're still getting good value for our building. If you recall, for a long time, we were basically getting, compared to the other people around the state, we were getting all our metal roofs and our geothermal basically at a premium, conservatively, is that we were less than them, and that was included in our buildings, and they didn't have them included in their buildings. So we were really getting a good deal, and I think the economy has finally caught up with those two things. So there's a lot of good reasons. You take now, there's a builder's market out there. We had 4 bidders. Actually, we had 3. One pulled out. R.G. Anderson, who normally would bid and be perhaps the lowest, because we've got them doing a job right now for us, was the highest bidder this time. So their bonding is up probably close to $500 million, and they've got all that loaded down with work. So the contractors that are out there bidding things are going for the good work. They want to make some money while the economy's good, so the prices are much higher. Plus the inflation, the builder's market. So we think that that accounts for that extra money, which is approximately $67 to $70 a square foot, that this building cost more than the Stewart's Creek High School building cost. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer.
I'd like to comment, when we were looking at some of the value engineering options, the ones that were much money were items we've tried to do. Gary mentioned the LED lighting. There were others out there. If we had taken them, we'd be back trying to do them within 2 to 3 years. And there just weren't that many out there in the package that were things we really thought were wise to do with this project.
The reason we have Indian Fund balance money is because this board has been very conservative with the expenditures, and we've had a good year, economy-wise, more money from the state, more money in sales tax. So what we're doing is taking the more money that we're getting in and putting it right back into a building in Rutherford County. And I'm glad we can do that. It's good for taxpayers, certainly good for kids and schools. So if you agree with this, and that's, spoke with the mayor, that sort of thing, I did tell them, you know, a lot of times we'll take Indian fund balance to buy another piece of property or something, or another particular project. So it will limit us some, I think, in being able to stretch. They may have to help us more if we have to purchase a piece of property or something else comes along, because we are, but this building needs to be done, and it needs to start quickly as we can.
Our revenue situation just came out extremely well this year. And I'm sorry, I sent these, the big printer was tied up, copier, so I sent these to our little printer and didn't number the pages. But the revenue amendment, which is, it's number 4, but with these amendments, we will have rounded $343 million in revenue. When the budget was approved, we had 334.2. So our revenues have gone up $8.7 million this year. Our starting budget before we did the $11 million transfer was $340,660,000. We now have over about 2.3 million more in revenue we anticipate this year than on the expenditures we started out with. That's how good our growth in revenues has been this year. And we have $22 million in unassigned fund balance. We're not touching that with this, but all of our growth in revenue, not all, because we did have that 561,000 in expenditures we need to cover. But this 22 million in fund balance, our reversion, our unexpended budgeted expenditures this year will more than make this up in a $340 million budget. So we will still be in good shape, fund balance, operating wise. And one of the things that Mr. Odeman, Lisa, and I have discussed is possibly looking, when we come back, at committing part of our fund balance toward operating expenditures for Rockville High School in that case in 2019. It's the startup cost. It is always hard to get the commission. It's easier to get the money for the construction than to get it for the operating costs. And this would be a way that we could set some aside and start planning for that 2 years out.
Still looking at perhaps $4 million a year for that?
It could be more. Rocky Fork came in 2.8 to 2.9 million. We got the RTI. Other things keep coming in when we open the
Right.
school to run those costs on us. It depends on how well we are able to transfer and move positions, depending on how the children we anticipate moving in the school.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
Ms. Moore, was that you?
Yes.
Any comments?
If I could beg the grace of the chairman, restate the motion and where we are.
Number 4 on your second page, this is to make up the additional cost for Rockville High School bid. And it's taking, basically, do you want me to say this?
Yes, please.
It's basically taking 2 pieces of funding. We had $3,705,000 left over from the $11 million we moved last year to the building fund, from the surplus a year ago, this time last year, and then increased revenues and income this year. Unappropriated surplus has built up that we feel comfortable to be able to add another $8 million little over 8 million to get about the 11.7 million or 7 point, that we need to finish out Rockville High School.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have comments or questions for Mr. Sandvik, Mr. Clardy, or the director?
I keep hearing some, what are y'all taking out of Rockville High School? We're not. It's basically Stewart's Creek again, except there's some change, a small amount of square footage change because of program changes between Stewart's Creek High, Rockville High, and Career and Technical Education. And that's driven by whatever program you have. You got 2 new programs there, the emergency medical thing that we're working again with Emergency Medical Service, Mr. Nunley and them for the county, helping kids get that certification. And then our construction council is so interested in that program to help people that can do plumbing, electrical, HVAC, general construction. We got a small one at Oakland now from the building we had a few years ago, but that's also included in the Rockville High. Plus the other traditional things, we didn't have to expand as much ag there because you got Eagleville next door with one of the strongest ag programs in the whole county there. So we were able to do a little bit there, but as far as your business and your other things, Ms. Pilgrim can answer that because she upset the program up. We're not shortcutting Rockville High. That's the point I want to make.
One thing that I would like to say about that, Mr. Odom, is that we went in to our design. We had a lot of actually some space wasted at Stewart Creek High School. There's offices in each classroom in those areas. We went through and redesigned all of that space and actually cut about 20,000 square feet out, but we have a better, workable, more user-friendly space than we actually have at Stewart Creek High School.
You have some shared office space in there, which we're a collaboration model anyway, and Stewart's Creek was our first one of that prototype, so we've learned some things and being able to do this. So that's what we're saying.
Is it incorrect to describe this motion as moving pieces around inside of our budget? Are we moving monies around? And so we've had a bid come back at a higher price than we expected, and essentially we're making up the difference by moving funds around inside of our program. Has there been any conversation or discussion about just asking for more?
If you do, you're certainly going to delay. You're going to delay. If we don't start on Rockville High, you're not going to open it in 19. Because you're going to have to go back through Health and Ed, you're going to have to do Budget and Finance, then you're going to have to sell it to the whole commission again. I laid the groundwork by saying where we normally might help you purchase properties or another project that comes up that we really need to do, that if we do this, you're going to have to help us do some of that. So I tried to, in order to try to work both sides of it, to get timely, get started, get it built, but set the groundwork for we may come back asking something else. But again, it's up to you what you want to do.
If we followed that path and asked for more and went back through all those steps and got it before the commission, remember they don't meet in July. We got it before the commission, all the committees, and before the commission in August and started in September with construction, we wouldn't make it, would we?
Might have to pay a premium for them to put extra workers. Sometimes they'll do it, but it's going to cost you for them to do it.
There's another issue, and that is we're in dire need of an elementary school
Right.
that we're
when the commission, as we did with the 11 million last July, this is shared money already. Ultimately, it will be used in the building program for K-6 projects. So later on, the commission will be borrowing, when you add the two together, 19.1 million for secondary projects and replace this money in the building program. That saves about $3 million in borrowing.
Okay,
So
that helps.
there's a lot of advantage to, and before the economy turned down, it usually wasn't these amounts. We were often able to transfer money for elementary projects to the building program. It's just we've had a spell of years with the economy down where we didn't have much opportunity to do that.
Okay.
This comment probably doesn't need to be said, but that won't stop me. When this board and the county built Riverdale and Oakland High School in 71, 72, I think in general, it wasn't perfect by any stretch of the imagination, and there were a lot of things that are very present today that were not present in 1971 and 72, but generally the board and the commission built those schools right. There were some mistakes, no question about it, but generally pretty good shape. When Smyrna split and built Laverne and a new Smyrna High School, a lot of those mistakes were corrected, and they got a lot more things that were not present at Riverdale and Oakland. And over the years, this county has consistently, and in some cases, this very board, has consistently made Eagleville one of the finest single-A high schools in the state. When we built, wasn't this board, I guess 3 boards ago, I built Blackman, everything improved remarkably. And then it improved again with Siegel. And you got, a lot of things were corrected and added and so forth. And as we know, Stewart's Creek, not only did they win an award for the best designed not federal government building in the state, is that right, Mr. Clardy, for that year? But I mean, you all been through it. We've all done all that. I mean, it is a remarkable. And I would submit to you that unless we have an emergency situation with the money, Rockvale High School in the Rockvale community, which is now a county project, not just a school board project, I don't believe they deserve any less. And unless we have an emergency, I'm not going to vote for any less. Now, I could be convinced if we got an emergency with the money in some way, we got to react to that. But I'll wait whatever comments you might have. If not, we do have a motion and a second. I'm going to read the motion one more time. It's been a while.
To amend the 2016-17 general purpose school budget by a total of $8,699,521 in revenues, with an additional $561,336 in expenditures, and $8,138,185 to be transferred to the school building program fund in order to internally fund the Rockvale High School construction contract as presented.
And this motion is going to go before the budget committee of the county commission
Monday.
Monday.
And then if they approve it, it will then be placed on the agenda the same day that the county approves the 17-18 budget.
Last call for comments, please. Make them now, please. If not all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sandvik, Mr. Clardy, Director. Number 5.
Number 5 is really the 2017-18 budget. And of course, you've approved it in the past, but let me point out one or two things very quickly before we go into it. Look, if you'll take what we did for you, we made you a copy of the presentation that was made at the public hearing. It's stapled together at the very end of the packet. You got this presentation, and this has got the whole county budget. But if you, when you go over and start taking, kind of taking a look at page 14, maybe it is. Oh, that's 14, 15, you start hearing, no, that's not it.
11 is schools.
11.
The page just on top of that stapled packet, is that the page 14 you're looking for, Mr.?
Well, that's, yeah, that's the ones they presented last night. What they presented with the public hearing is this packet that's stapled together. So if you kind of look at pages 10, 11, this is your information, which you can read on your own sometime about the change in schools. But I thought most interestingly, on page 11 of that packet, you have on there where they moved the 1 cent to the debt service fund, you know, that they did that. They've got a summary of the change in revenues, Lisa Nolan did. But the pie graph or pie chart on page 11 basically tells you where we get our money as public schools. 58% comes from the state of Tennessee, 2% from unassigned fund balance. Property tax is 20% of the school's budget. Other local taxes is 20%, and any other local revenues is really 0%. It's a small amount. So we are relying on 7.4 million unassigned fund balance to match the revenues with the expenditures, which we did some last year also. But anyway, if your constituents ask you, you can this kind of gives you an answer. What percent is the property tax monies that we operate on? And it's about 20%, basically. So as you kind of look on over to pages 12, that sort of thing, capital improvements on that page. So that's kind of the information. The other piece that this was presented to the Budget and Finance last night, and it was a good summary, so I asked Mr. Samvey to produce this for you today. And it's the sheet that's with that, but it's numbered page 14, but not in that staple group. It's a standalone page, there, page 14 last night. It's General Purpose School Fund 141, which is basically what you're working on, that one page. And is an interesting thing, there's our revenue. You've got last year 16, you got 17, 18 projected. And the point that I found interesting, you know, they took away $574,939, but they changed their estimated increase in assessments to property tax. Since you met last, since we met a couple of weeks ago, they've actually increased it $684,677. So they pointed out to me that they had added more than they'd taken away. But that was just change with assessment in there. So they may have known this the night they moved a penny, I don't know. But that was new figures to us last night, that 684,677 increase. So you have, again, your revenues in there, $357,465,850. Then expenditures, $364,221,644. And then, of course, you, again, using that ending fund balance monies to balance it out. So a penny, a school, the current tax rate is 1.2935, and a school penny, because we share with the city, school penny for us is $580,274. And so that's basically kind of tells you where we are, what will be presented to the county commission based on this information.
I don't know if they knew about the increased assessments or not when they took the penny out, but it sure would have been a whole lot better if they'd told us that night, since we were all sitting right there. But it made it go down a little bit easier. But anyway, I don't want to pick a fight with anybody. It's okay.
So I guess, do we need another motion? Or because you haven't changed it from when you voted on it last time. So it's mainly information. We had this meeting scheduled tonight, so if they did make another change and you did have to vote again, then we would have to vote, but they made no changes based upon the public hearing.
And
And
my,
they made, yeah, the only thing they changed was revenues a little, basically, on that side.
So what you're saying is we've done this. We don't have to do it again.
yes, sir.
Okay. Any comments or questions from,
Unless you want to change it, but then it wouldn't match theirs, so I don't think we want
I
to
don't
do
want to change anything.
that. We won't do it now.
Any comments, anything from the board?
I'll ask for an explanation. The pie chart that you made reference to, revenues for the general purpose school budget, federal government 0%.
The only funds that are categorized as federal funds that we still have going into the GPS budget are ROTC reimbursement.
But then over and above that, we're going to find all of our title funds.
If you look
and
at
then-
the,
Are not included in the county budget.
let me see what page the food service is on,
And then food service has,
and some of the other, that's where it showed, actually.
Okay. All right, I knew that had to be a little misleading, because I knew it's about 11% of the budget, isn't it?
and this, on the report card, I think that is just our title and IDEA federal funds. I think they exclude,
Cafeteria.
have been excluding the cafeteria. I'm not sure what they're gonna do under the new version.
On page 6 of the whole county budget for everything of that stapled sheet, you have federal government there at 2%. Mm-hmm. We're in, because you look on the left over there, you actually see with the statement of proposed operations for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2018, you know, schools are general purpose schools is in that, so that 2% would be reflected in that particular pie chart.
Okay.
Any other questions on number 5? County budget summary? If not, number 6.
Number 6, this is a new item for you tonight. The Technology Department is requesting approval for professional services with Dell to address current technology infrastructure needs. These services will include, 1, assessment of our current technology infrastructure. Infrastructure is, of course, what you have up here in the central office, the servers and talking to the schools, the servers at the schools, what we call the pipe or the lines between the two, and then also your internet services. A scalable design to support the growth of students, faculty, staff, and devices. And I mentioned this to you in a couple of board meetings ago, maybe. We have grown so rapidly each year, we've taken our old system and we've added. And we really need somebody professional to take a look at the big picture and see how we've got it fitting together, because we're having some access issues and some other things. Are we spending our money the best way to meet the scale that looks now out into the future? If we're going to have 12 to 1,500 new students every year and adding a school every year, where are we in being ready for this? Then an implementation of the design, what do we need to do? Installation and configuration of Microsoft System Center Configuration Manager. These services will allow the technology department to maintain and support the continued demands placed on our technology infrastructure due to growth. The cost for professional service with Dell is $89,500 to be purchased through the Tennessee state contract, so it's already been bid. But we really need the big picture to put it together, see how we're spending our money, what can we do to get more efficient and be able to grow and handle the services we got. So this is not a one and done. This goes over months as they watch it. Steve told me, you may recall, I don't remember how many months this covers.
I don't recall exactly, but I know it takes our entire system and breaks it down and rebuilds it from the ground up to balance our data. Right now, we're getting a lot of data through small ports, and we're getting very little through large ports, so this balances it and disperses it out, so we'll have a smoother transition through all of that with a faster operating system. Plus, it helps us to reconfigure all the window stuff to send it out to these individual areas for updates and things. Right now, it's really a struggle on them and bleeds the manpower down to go out and patch a little here, go over here and patch a little bit, but we'll be able to, in a downtime when no one's here, to be able to do the updates and things. So it doesn't have any money in it or equipment. It's just fully engineering fund for that and for the redesign and implementation of that system.
Just like we pay an architect to design a building, we really need the technology architect to look at our big technology picture. And this is, Sandvik has already built it into these amendments things to do this that you approved earlier. We'd rather go ahead and pay it out of 16-17 where we have some surplus where they can go ahead and look at it. Then we don't have to amend 17-18 and all and do that. But it lets us go ahead and fit this together. So the motion was to approve a contract with Dell at a cost of $89,500 to provide these professional services.
Comments or a motion? Mr. Hodge, I think that was Mr. Holliday. Seconded. Any comments or questions? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Number 7.
Number 7, this occurred today, surplus vehicle purchase from the state. We were looking for another with our extra technicians and all that drive out to the schools through the technology department. Mr. Clardy went down today with Mr. Solomon looking at the state surplus. So they found the technology department has purchased a state surplus 2005 Chevrolet K250 truck for a cost of $6,600. This vehicle was included in the 16-17 budget, and that's, I think this is just information because you already approved it before. So they did go down today and get a $6,600 truck for technology to use.
Questions?
State surplus.
And we have another informational item. When we had our joint meeting with the Health and Ed and Budget Committees, as Mr. Odom was going over things, I looked down and I did not notice we do have a new tech position for Mr. Solomon's department in the budget, and I neglected to get it on the summary sheet that Mr. Odom was going over. We have not added one in several years. We have added cablers. We have not added that higher level of tech, and it is in the budget. It's a position in our budget, but we would like to proceed with posting that in the next year.
It was in the monies.
Yeah.
We just forgot to
Shows
list
in the
it,
positions.
overlooked listing it. So
Yeah.
we did.
I just totally overlooked that until that meeting and didn't figure
Is that call for action from us in any way? No.
Because you approve the budget with.
Right. Okay.
My contract says I have to let y'all know.
Okay.
You know, and so that's what
Yeah.
we didn't intend to leave that one out, but we did.
I just sat there thinking, I can't believe, if it had been in the other labor object, there were moves around there, I could have seen that, but it was in that line that is only computer text, and I missed it, so. But the dollars are in the position show.
Questions or comments from the board? If not, I'll remind you, Monday night, you have your materials in front of you for the zone exemption hearings. And that, remember, that is 5:30 on Monday night. And then Tuesday work session on the 20th, 5 o'clock. Nothing on the 21st, 22nd, board meeting at 5 o'clock. Anything else?
Yeah, oh, well, I will tell you one little thing we found out that, the ESL teacher support is growing. The state, they have a test that lets students exit, and so they've raised the cut scores on the exits. The score a kid has to score in order to exit direct services with ESL. The state has raised it, and they raised it to the extent that last year we exited like 389. This year it's about 45. It's going to hit everybody across the state. And then so you got that 1-to-35 ratio. We sent an email to them today, Ms. Hall did. Why are y'all changing all these cuts now? at this time. The city has called her, what are we gonna do? How can we find teachers? But again, it's all coming from above, just to let y'all know. It'll have to come from our teacher, because we have to meet the 1:35 ratio, so it'll have to come from that teacher number that we put in. And then he'll have to amend it from regular to ESL line item for people. They changed the test, cut scores.
Anything else? Ms. Moore?
Director, Mr. Odom, do you have any recent updates on the results of our test scores? And when
They just started on the 14th, even scanning 3 through 8. So they have told us, do not expect results until late October or November. Because remember, they've changed the test. It's been 2 years since 3 through 8 was tested because they stopped it last year. They have to go back and set new cut scores. They have to say what is called proficient, what's advanced, what's not. All of that has to be done after they finish scanning all of it. So we might get sometimes some high school a little earlier because they did test last year and they set theirs, cut scores last summer. So there should be a growth for high schools that comes before then. But every meeting I've been to, it's the October, November timeframe. And they try to do that state report card November, December. So they're just racing to try to get, I think, it done then. They got all of that equating process to do. The first scan will be nothing but a raw score. Like you had 45 questions and you got 39 of them. Well, what does that mean? Does that mean you're proficient? Does that mean you're non-proficient? Or are you advanced? All of that has to be determined.
There's a number of questions that are actually knowledge questions.
Yeah, they're not even counted.
The urge to make comments is overwhelming, but I hope we can just go ahead and adjourn, if that's all right with everybody. Thanks to Scout Troop 441. Appreciate it very much. And to our staff for their constant help and great work and representation in Washington, D.C., and taking minutes. Ms. Barnes, I'm sure got everything done. Thank you so much, Board. We'll see you Monday night. We're adjourned.